have breaking news. The president is about to speak. We're going to take him live as soon as he begins speaking. And those Americans on board that cruise ship hit by Hantavirus are now back in the United States, and they're in quarantine. This morning, a plane carrying 18 people landed in Nebraska. 16 of them were taken to the University of Nebraska Medical Center. It has a special quarantine unit. One person who tested positive will be placed in a specialized biocontainment unit. 2 others were transferred to Emory University Hospital in Atlanta for further care. Earlier today, officials in Nebraska explained why the groups were split up.
Part of the decision was to make sure that they preserve space within the biocontainment unit here to make sure there's adequate care for anyone who might need it among the other passengers. Passengers were flown to Atlanta for further assessment and care there.
Earlier today, President Trump was also asked about the virus.
The one thing with this one is that it's much harder to catch. And we've had it for a long, it's been around for a long time. People are very familiar with it. So, I hope it's fine. All I can do is everything that a president can do, which is actually somewhat limited. But it seems like it is not easy to spread. In fact, it's in certain ways very hard to spread. We've lived with it for years, many years, and we think we're in very good shape. We're very careful.
Yesterday, the cruise ship docked in Spain. It capped an international voyage linked to deaths, 3 deaths, in fact. Early this morning, the ship's captain released a message.
The past few weeks have been extremely challenging to us all, as I'm sure you know. What touched me the most, what moved me the most, was your patience, your discipline, and also kindness. Most importantly, our thoughts are with the ones that are no longer with us, and whatever I say will not ease this loss. But I'd like you to know they are with us every day in our hearts and our thoughts.
Former U.S. Assistant Secretary for Health, Admiral Brett Giroir, joins me. Nice to see you again, sir. It's been a while. Nice to see you.
Great to see you, Greta.
And, tell me, sir, as I understand, this virus, Hantavirus, is less contagious than COVID, but more deadly.
You're absolutely right. This is not COVID in any way, shape, or form. Number one, we know about this virus. The Hantavirus is a little bit different, the Andes strain that infected these passengers than what we see here in the United States. But this Andes virus is responsible for 200 cases a year in Chile and in Argentina. So we know the virus. It's not brand new upon the world. Secondly, it is very difficult to contract. And what I mean by that is there is person-to-person transmission of this Andes strain, but it requires very close contact with individuals, usually sleeping in the same bedroom or close contact with saliva or bodily fluids, or in a very close compartment. So this is very different than COVID, that you could be transmitting the virus in the air, across the room, or in ventilation ducts, et cetera. So we do not expect broad contagion. We know how to control this virus, and that's what's being done. In other words, quarantine the people who were exposed, and this should really stop the outbreak. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be more cases, because the incubation period can be up to 6 weeks. So some of the people in quarantine could develop the virus. We might expect that, but that's no cause for concern.
I don't know how I missed this all through COVID. I think I did like 38 specials on COVID or something unbelievable like that. But the word that I learned today in my study today is fomite transmission. I'd never even heard the word fomite transmission. And at least some of the research says that it can be days at room temperature, this fomite transmission. Maybe you can explain what that is, and is that true?
Well, the pattern of transmission is, this happens rarely with this virus, but fomite transmission is, can you get it from a bed pillow or a sheet or other types of non-animate objects? And certainly with this virus, it is possible. That certainly has not been ruled out for the mechanism of transmission across the in the ocean liner, but it's really thought to be transmitted much more closely with bodily fluids, like coughing on someone, sneezing on someone. And very importantly, you don't have to be really symptomatic, but you have to be symptomatic. And the more symptomatic you are, the higher the virus titer. So this is not like COVID, where people transmitted it before they became symptomatic. It's an entirely different virus. But as you pointed out, it is not transmittable very easily. We don't expect a widespread outbreak. We know how to contain it, but it is a highly fatal virus. So the case fatality could be 30 to 50%, which is why you really need to be in a specialized center that can not only take care of you safely without infecting personnel, but it can also care for you if you need the type of advanced medical care that you need. And in fact, these centers like Nebraska were set up in a network after our experience in Texas with Ebola that really showed that even great community hospitals are not equipped for this type of infection.
Well, I was struck by the fact that one person went to Atlanta, to Emory, which is where it took care of some Ebola patients that you mentioned, and which I naturally made the assumption that the person does have this virus. And then I took it one step further in my mind, is that on a big cruise ship, people tend to stick together, the French over here, the British over here, and Americans over here. And so, I mean, like, I don't know where, I mean, the fact that this person, this American picked it up, assuming that the person has the virus, struck me as unusual.
Well, we don't know what the transmission patterns are. You don't know what goes on cruise ships and how it was. That'll all be investigated. But the American, as I understood, who tested positive, again, this is one of those amplification tests for the virus. And it's entirely possible that this person had a false positive, meaning they weren't really infected. But if you do PCR enough and you do enough cycles, you can get a false positive result. So we're just very hopeful that this person really isn't infected and will not get ill. But again, places like Emory and particularly Nebraska, these are specialized centers. I know Nebraska extremely well, as I do Emory, that are not only equipped to isolate the people and quarantine the people and keep the nurses and physicians safe, but they're equipped with the best medical care, because if these people do develop hantavirus, they can often develop a very severe complication, which is hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. That's where the lungs really fail very, very quickly over a period of 24 to 48 hours. And you have to have the advanced medical care to take care of them. And yes, you can survive it. And there are ways to make you have a better chance of surviving, but you do need the specialized care. So to Americans, this is not, you be concerned, but do not expect a pandemic. This will get stopped by quarantine.
All right, if you have it and you're American, you're reasonably good health, and in all likelihood with proper treatment, you're going to survive this, right? I mean, is it more likely that people who don't survive it are people who are somewhat compromised and just don't get the right treatment? I mean, is there a treatment that will take care of this for a healthy person?
Well, it's always true that the more compromised you are, the worse your outcome is. But this is not like COVID. Healthy young people have a high mortality rate as well. And that mortality rate could be 20 or 30%. This is a very dangerous virus. And being young and healthy, unlike COVID, isn't a guarantee or a high chance you're going to be safe. So this is a very severe disease, and it's inflammatory disease. Again, the good news is it's not easily transmittable. We know how to diagnose it. We know how to quarantine it. And that's what's being done. And I support the program that's currently being accomplished.
If this virus, why has it been contained? I mean, we hear about it just in I think in Argentina and Chile. I mean, if this has been around for so long, it seems, I mean, that's obviously a big geographical area, but people travel all the time. It seems like it has been contained, because this is the rest of us are hearing about it. Yeah,
well, the primary source of transmission, as it is in the United States, is from rodent droppings, urine, feces, or even saliva that gets aerosolized. Like if you're cleaning a barn out, or you happen to be in a place where they are, and there's dust, wind, these kinds of issues. So it's not generally transmittable person to person. There's been a couple of isolated outbreaks, but it is very rare. Hantavirus in the US, there's been less than 1,000 cases over 30 years. The hantavirus in Argentina and Chile is a different strain carried by a different rodent that's only found there. but there are a couple hundred cases a year. So it is known, but person-to-person transmission is very rare outside of a bedroom companion or very, very close quarters. This is why this is a very unusual situation on the cruise ship, where you probably had a person who was highly infected, a super spreader in tight surroundings, and maybe sharing utensils or wine or something else during that period of time. That's up for investigation, but it's a very serious virus, but it will be contained by quarantine. Contact tracing and quarantine will work for this. It did not work well for COVID because of all the unique things about COVID.
Yeah, it's like drinking out of a fire hose with the COVID. We got shocked so much. Admiral Brett Giroir, thank you very much as always. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Turns out this is not the only virus outbreak on a cruise ship. We are following the other outbreak on a cruise ship, and this one happened much closer to home. It's an outbreak of Norovirus, and it has gotten 102 passengers and 13 crew members sick. The cruise ship is the Caribbean Princess. The ship departed from Port Everglades in Fort Lauderdale nearly 2 weeks ago. The ship stopped in the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. At some point during this trip, people got sick. Princess Cruises says while the sick people were isolated, the ship was clean and disinfected. Today, the ship returned to the United States. It's docked at Port Canaveral, Florida. The CDC says it is monitoring the norovirus outbreak. Symptoms of norovirus include nausea and vomiting. Coming up, your gas bill may soon be coming down. And President Trump to prepare us for this big trip overseas. Where is he headed? That when the record continues.
This was America in 1980, held in contempt by foreign nations. Across the world, people were losing their freedoms. So many countries thought America had seen its day, but we knew better. So we stopped complaining together and started working together. Today, America is strong again. We're looking to the future with confidence and pride. America's best days and democracy's best days lie ahead.
Billy, I need help with the clicker.
Yeah, wait, 1 second, Grandma. This guy's gonna buy my car.
Billy, you still there?
Okay, just...
You need Carvana. What's your plate number?
Boss, M-O-V.
Vehicle features, no accidents, right?
No.
Good. Generating offer. Carvana can pick it up tomorrow.
That's an amazing offer. Do you still need help with the clicker?
I'll ask your sister.
Sell your car the easy way with Carvana.
What if you're sick at home or traveling and can't get medical help or prescriptions? Doctors say a medical emergency kit is the answer. Joining me is Dr. Drew.
Thank you. And yes, these kits put you in charge of your health. They come with physician-prescribed medication to treat multiple common and some serious issues as well.
What are some examples?
Sure. Generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other essential antibiotics and antivirals that treat flu, pneumonia, strep, ear infections, sinus infections, urinary tract infections, and more.
So it is like urgent care and a pharmacy at home?
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
How do you know what medicines to take?
You just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Sound advice. Order online in minutes at the website below and save $45. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Since the start of the Iran war back on February 28th, gas prices have surged more than 50%, but you already knew that, right? Well, the national average is now $4.52. A year ago, it was $3.13. Today, President Trump was asked about suspending the federal gas tax. Here's how he responded.
Yeah, I'm going to reduce until let me tell you, as soon as this is over with Iran, as soon as it's over, you're going to see gasoline and oil drop like a rock.
How long are you going to suspend that tax for?
Till it's appropriate, yeah.
Mr. President,
it's a small percentage, but it's still money.
The federal government charges a tax of 18 cents per gallon for gasoline and 24 cents per gallon on diesel fuel. So when could this war be over? Middle East correspondent Zach Anders joins me from Tel Aviv, where it is 11:15 p.m. Zach.
Well, the question might be, Greta, when does this war start again? Today, the president says the ceasefire with Iran is on massive life support as his White House rejects the piece of garbage, he says, that was Iran's latest position. Their counteroffer made its way through Pakistani mediators yesterday, and Iran says what they sent included demands for a permanent end to the war, recognition of sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, reparations for war damages, we would pay them, sanctions relief, lifting of the U.S. naval blockade, and a flat refusal to transfer any of the enriched uranium, with regime-run television calling it their most generous offer yet. Well, today, President Trump says the regime flip-flopped on uranium enrichment, too.
They did 2 days ago. They said, you're going to have to take it. We were going to go with them, but they changed their mind because they didn't put it in the paper. So when they sent us this document that we waited 4 days for, that should have taken 10 minutes to do, look, very simple. We get that. They guarantee no nuclear weapons for a very long period of time, and a couple of other minor things, but they just can't get there. So they agree with us, and then they take it back.
On 60 Minutes last night, Prime Minister Netanyahu stated the war with Iran is not over. He laid out a series of unacceptable threats from Iran that Jerusalem believes are degraded but not eliminated. And despite a ceasefire in place, today the United Arab Emirates says they intercepted multiple Iranian drones. Another cargo ship reportedly struck off the coast of Qatar. And a representative of the Ayatollah publicly called for preemptive strikes on French and British warships steaming into the region. We also have the Speaker of Iran's parliament just a few moments ago posted on X that our armed forces are ready to deliver a well-deserved response to any aggression. We are prepared for all options. They will be surprised. Greta.
Zach Anders, Tel Aviv, thank you. President Trump is preparing to meet with China's President Xi Jinping. This week's meeting takes on bigger significance because Beijing has deep economic ties to Iran. Jay, the president was asked about this week's trip.
I have a great relationship with President Xi. We're doing a lot of business, but it's smart business. We used to be taken advantage of for years with our previous presidents, and now we're doing great with China. We make a lot of money with China. He and I have gotten along well, other than with COVID. I was not. I was just not accepting of what happened with COVID. But other than that, he and I have had. He's a great gentleman. We'll be talking about. I mean, he'll bring up Taiwan. I think more than I will. But I think that a discussion will be a little bit about energy and about the very beautiful country of Iran.
On Wednesday night, President Trump is expected to arrive in Beijing. On Thursday night, he will attend a state banquet. On Friday, President Trump and President Xi will have tea and a working lunch before the president departs for home. The last meeting between President Trump and President Xi was in October of last year. That was in South Korea. National security correspondent for the Washington Times, Bill Gertz, joins me. Nice to talk to you again, Bill. Bill, what's the relationship? How tight are China and Iran?
It's one of China's most important, significant allies in the Middle East, and also a major source of energy, oil. That is, the Treasury Department just slapped sanctions on Iran that were a shipment that was going to China. So that kind of highlights this on the eve of this upcoming summit meeting.
Would you not think, I mean, there's also Venezuela was also a source of energy for China. Would you not think that it would really be in China's best interest, in light of the fact that it's so dependent on Iranian oil, to try to work out some solution instead of, I don't know if maybe they are trying to work on some solution, but rather than helping Iran with what we hear of as intelligence against the United States, but helping resolve this?
I see this upcoming summit as a chance where the two leaders are going to try to reach some kind of resolution. The Trump administration is pressing Iran very hard to get Iran to agree to a peace agreement. It's not clear that the Iranians are going to do that. I mean, they're ideologically motivated, as the Chinese are, and it's a very difficult situation. We'll see what happens. Again, the summit will be critical in reaching some type of an agreement. Normally, they work out things way in advance, but this time I think it will be right as the two leaders meet later this week, where they'll work out a lot of final details on trade and tariffs and Taiwan and artificial intelligence and fentanyl.
Do you think that China wants or could tolerate Iran having a nuclear weapon?
Well, I mean, China was very instrumental in giving Pakistan nuclear weapons. So they do not share the same view as the Western nations about the proliferation of nuclear weapons. I reported on that extensively many years ago about how China really was behind, gave them design information, gave them centrifuges. So I think, and also they've helped Iran also in its nuclear program. So they're not afraid of Iran having a nuclear weapon.
Which is so interesting because China helped Pakistan, and the father of Pakistan nuclear program, A.Q. Khan, then helped North Korea, and Pakistan became almost the Walmart of nuclear weapons and nuclear technology.
Yeah,
and now they're negotiating supposedly the resolution between the United States and Iran.
Yeah, I think Iran was trying to follow North Korea's example, where they did the agreed framework back in the 90s, which was declared as a great victory in ending North Korea's nuclear program. And what did they do? It was all a deception. They just built nuclear weapons and emerged. And then when we said you violated the agreement, they said, "Hi, too bad, we're leaving it." I think Iran was trying to do that same model. Clearly, the conflict now that they've launched has set back their nuclear program a great deal. Whether it will end it or not, again, it's still, as long as that regime remains in power, I think they're going to drive for nuclear weapons.
Well, we hear that the economy of Iran is bad, that it's in shambles, practically collapsing. And if their pal is China, how's China's economy is doing? Because if you have two economies that are in trouble, obviously Iran worse, it doesn't seem like that it was in their best interest not to end this war.
Yeah, I think China's economy is in trouble. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said not a couple of months ago that the Chinese actually reached out to the U.S. looking for some type of economic and trade accommodation. Their economy is in trouble. That said, they have total control over the economy there. I mean, it's modeled as some type of state capitalism, but in reality, the government and the party really control the economy. That said, the tariffs have really hurt China. I hear stories about businesses going under inside of China because of the tariffs. So China wants some relief from tariffs, and at the same time, the United States wants relief from the threat of rare earth controls. And that was really a shock to the Trump administration when China announced it was going to restrict rare earths, which are needed for everything from aircraft, warplanes to automobiles.
What do you think President Xi is expecting to get out of this meeting with President Trump?
I think President Xi is trying to manage a President Trump that it's really afraid of. They Trump has not really shown his cards on China. His policies have vacillated between looking at China as an existential threat and also looking at China as a place to do business. Those are the two competing forces, I think, inside the Trump administration, which are driving China policy. The issue of Taiwan, again, is China's main thing. They want to bring that up. They want to get some concession from the United States, perhaps a slight shift in the Taiwan policy of stating that the U.S. is opposed to Taiwan independence as opposed to the current policy, which says it's not supporting that.
Bill Gertz, thank you.
Thank you, Greta.
Coming up, remember the reports that a judge apologized to the man charged with trying to assassinate President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Well, we have obtained the official transcript. That when the record continues.
You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmidt tonight on Newsmax.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BC, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with preserved gold, how do they get started?
Text Newsmax to 50505 to get your free information and up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's right. Text Newsmax to 50505.
All right. No way you can miss it.
So Dale, you really need to get that colon cancer screening.
Dad, it's been forever. I need to be in there. Wrap it up. Come on, Dad. It's taking forever.
How much longer?
It's been an hour. Are you done yet?
Dale, don't worry. We can do it with just a blood test. Shield.
Okay, let's do it.
Shield is for people 45 plus at average risk, not high risk for colon cancer. Ask your doctor about FDA-approved Shield from the company trusted in blood tests for cancer for over a decade.
My name is Deanna Perazzo, and I'm a professional wrestler. I want to use my spotlight to help T2T because my husband was a combat veteran. Helping vets is so important because they're often the most disregarded people in our society. And so to be able to say, like, we see you, we see the sacrifice, we see the struggle you go through to support us in our scariest moments, that deserves to be celebrated, that deserves to be honored. Please help by donating $11 a month at T2T.org. Let us do good.
I wish I loved my smile.
I wish I could get implants.
I wish money wasn't so tight.
I wish I can justify the cost.
I wish my insurance could save me more on dental implants.
See what it can do at ClearChoice. Show us your insurance card and save $5,000 on fixed full double arch implants. That's insurance assurance on a smile that's built for life. Schedule your free consultation today.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, at 92 years of age with my wife Shirley, who is 83. Now, both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, all because of Immuno 150. Now, we are asking you to use Immuno 150 like we do. Give it a chance for at least 90 days so that you can see what 70 plant minerals and 80 additional nutrients can do for you.
It really is incredible.
Don't place your order until after you've watched the 3 videos on our website.
If you still have bad breath by lunchtime, your mouthwash isn't working. Smart Mouth is the only mouthwash that prevents bad breath for 24 hours. This is the only mouthwash I recommend. Upgrade your mouthwash to Smart Mouth today and never have bad breath again.
Today, Cole Thomas Allen, the man charged with attempting to assassinate President Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, pleaded not guilty to all charges in his indictment. The last time Allen was in court, there were multiple reports that the federal magistrate apologized to Allen. That, of course, went viral. Now, rather than relying on reports that could be incomplete or wrong, since it's pretty bizarre to apologize to someone with a serious charge like that, we decided to get the actual transcript to fact-check it. Newsmax correspondent Michael Cozzi obtained the official transcript of what the judge actually said to Allen. Okay, Michael, did the magistrate apologize to the defendant, and what did he apologize for if he did?
Well, Greta, we got the transcript right here, and what's inside is going to make your head spin, and it probably should, because not only did the magistrate judge Zia Faruqi apologize to Thomas Cole Allen, he even went so far as to make this into kind of a political football, if you will, because he referenced January 6th and a whole bunch of other rights that he claims through the defense that were violated for Cole Thomas Allen. Specifically, that he did not have access to a Bible, he had a 5-chain restraint, and a whole bunch of other things that were within the complaint for the jail. And he even said that, January 6th protesters got to have physical exercise time, and they had a room with a window, and they weren't in a padded cell. Those were the allegations that the defense team for Cole Thomas Allen made.
All right, did he was chained in his cell? I mean, because that is unusual to change someone in the cell. I mean, that's...
Yeah, that's right. So on page 34, it says, because if there was nothing else besides the information the FBI provided, at least we know the basis. But if there wasn't that, or if there was more, I want to know. And if there was nothing more, then it's supposed to say to Mr. Allen to make him to believe that he is going to have a fair proceeding. Now, I'm going to believe that you're indicating there was a basis to do that. But if
chain
not,
him?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, chain. No matter how bad it is, we don't chain people in cells. He's in a cell.
Yeah, that's
right. I mean, on a suicide watch, you watch him.
And then comes the apology, where he says, but if not, at a minimum, I should be apologizing to him, being the defendant, because the court is responsible. My name, Mr. now addressing Mr. Allen, it's my name, my colleague's name. We are the ones who have detained you. We are obliged to make sure that you're treated with the basic human decency everyone is entitled to have, let alone a presumed innocent person. That was
it's
the
not. I
exact
mean,
quote.
Fulton County Jail, they had dead bodies with insect infestation. And I mean, judges apologize to someone accused of a serious crime. He's presumed innocent. But of course, but if he's chained in his cell, the chained in his cell is something I didn't know about.
Yeah, it's a really interesting nugget here. And again, we're going to get into that more, I assume, once this trial actually gets proceeded.
There probably should be a hearing. Because you don't go around chaining somebody in a cell, no matter what you've done. You know? No,
you can't do that. And it looks really prejudicial at that point for the prosecution.
Yeah, I don't know what's the chain in the cell. I mean, that's just chaining someone in a cell. I've never heard, and I've practiced law here for a long time, but that's the first for me. Michael Cozzi, thank you. Thank you for getting that transcript, too. Former Ole Miss football star tight end Rufus French has been sentenced to 16 years in prison. Why? Well, according to the Department of Justice, Rufus was running a $197 million Medicare fraud scheme. It targeted seniors and disabled veterans. The DOJ went on to say Rufus took part in a multi-year scheme to defraud Medicare, the civilian health, and the medical program of the Department of Veteran Affairs. He did this by selling patient information and fake doctor's orders for orthopedic braces that the patients didn't need. He sold the orders to marketers and companies. They, in turn, then submitted the claims to Medicare. In February, French was convicted of conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and conspiracy to offer, pay, solicit, and receive kickbacks. French was ordered to pay $100 million in restitution and to forfeit about $17 million that the government seized from bank accounts. Now to the White House, where President Trump is speaking.
Possession and scored, cutting Indiana's lead 24-21. Indiana got the ball once more and put 3 more points on the board, pushing the score to 27-21. I mean, you have to see this game. I would say that coach, I know he's got a good reputation. This guy is calling the wrong place, but he kept winning. They kept scoring. They kept doing all this stuff. The things that weren't supposed to happen. You're just lucky you won that game, because if you didn't, they would have said, this coach is crazy. With just 51, that's why he's a great coach. With just 51 seconds left to tie the game and deep within Indiana's territory, Miami's quarterback fired off a 30-yard pass, only to be intercepted by junior Giroir Sharp. Where's Giroir? Giroir. Come on up. Come on. Look at this guy. You want to say? So go ahead. Tell him how good the coach is.
Coach Sig's a very good coach, you know. Once he first came to Indiana, I didn't know if I was going to stay, but I stayed, and I'm glad I stayed because we won a national championship.
He doesn't want to leave the stage. Good-looking guy, huh? Thank you. Thank you. He didn't want to leave the stage. He's a natural. So the Hurricanes are great. The team is so great. Giroir, I want to thank you for getting up and making such a rousing speech. By the way, a lot of people don't do that. You know, a lot of times they'll do that and say, no, I don't want to talk. But he's got a future in a lot of things, probably football. First of all, from there, the outcome was sealed, and the Hoosiers became national champions. Think of that, right? I was there. You went through a lot of great teams when you think, and real football powerhouses over the years. It's pretty intimidating.
Top 10 teams.
Yeah, amazing. Top 10s. This team lifted the Indiana football program from a historic low. It really didn't have a good reputation over there, but it tells you what coaching means too. But your grit and discipline and your belief and your strength of character, the coach I think he's just incredible. I think it's an incredible story. When I heard they were coming today, I said, I got to meet that coach, because he came out of like high school, a great high school program, but you made it good. But what you did is something that I don't think anybody's ever really done in college football history. How is your team going to be this year, Coach? What do you think?
Well, we got a chance if we commit, and if we have discipline and a great work ethic, and if we can handle success and we can handle failure, and we're consistent day in, day out, we might have a chance.
How about this guy? Is he central casting or what? I'm going to watch you. You're amazing. You have made the fans really proud and inspired millions, all of you, the coach and the players, and reminded everyone that with determination and lots of hard work, anything's possible. And I said to the coach, we have a very special area. Well, that's very special. We're building a beautiful ballroom. You can see it's not too small, Coach. We need it. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom. We're going to give them the greatest ballroom anywhere in the country. I'm very good at ballrooms. I'm very good at building things. But I said to the coach, there's a special place here, and it's called the Oval Office. Everything sort of begins, ends, and re-begins again. And I said, if you like, Coach, I'll take your entire team back, and we're going to go to the Oval Office, show him the Oval Office, and we're going to give him a very, very special medal. And I said, so what do you want to do, Coach? He said, we want to go. Hold it. You guys want to go to the Oval Office? Yes, sir. I had a feeling they were going to say that. I had a feeling. So, Coach, say a few words. I'm really honored to be with this guy because he took something from, it's not like he inherited a great program. He inherited something that was less than great, and he made it into something that probably has never been done at this level, never been done before. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. Got a lot of Hoosiers in the stands here and behind me. We got to give them one, two, three, Hoosiers, right? 1, 2, 3, Hoosiers. You got that? Okay, thank you.
You've been listening to President Trump speak at the White House, and coming up, the Department of Justice has given former President Biden a deadline of tomorrow. A deadline for what? Find out when the record continues.
I've been a Marine Corps attack pilot, a White House correspondent, and a wartime journalist. But my biggest responsibility is finding the truth in this chaotic, deceptive environment.
Watch Greg Kelly Reports, only on Newsmax.
In America, we believe in hard work, family, and taking care of our own. That's why Safe Step walk-in tubs are proudly designed, built, and assembled in the USA, in the heart of Tennessee, by more than 300 hardworking Americans.
My name is Michelle Johnson. Lamination is where we put the fiberglass, resin, and gel coat on the actual product.
Skilled craft professionals building every tub with precision, care, and pride. With a low step-in design, built-in safety features, and soothing therapeutic jets, Safe Step helps you stay comfortable, confident, and in control.
My name's Angela Peters. We make sure everything is as perfect as it can be.
When you choose Safe Step, you're not just investing in your home, you're supporting American families and American jobs. Call now for your free in-home consultation and ask about our special offer. Safe Step walk-in tubs, made in Tennessee, made for you.
Doctors say having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care and pharmacy at home. Let me bring in Dr. McCullough to explain more.
Most people know when they're getting sick, but waiting to see a doctor is often too late.
So the key is having medicines before you need them.
Yes, and it includes doctor-prescribed medicines to treat common and serious issues like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, antibiotics, antivirals for flu, pneumonia, strep, ear and sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
So it is like having an urgent care at home.
Exactly. No waiting, no pharmacy, no copays. You feel better faster and avoid serious complications and hospitalizations.
How do you know what to take?
Just match your symptoms to the doctor-written guide or schedule a quick telehealth call.
Great advice. I understand ordering is fast online, and we've put the website and $45 off code on the screen. Thank you, doctor.
Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code news.
Stop. Check this out. Our most advanced performance frame, Talon, is out. It's a bestseller. We just got it back in stock, and I want to show you a little bit about it. These come with our signature lost and broken protection, and you can try them risk-free for 30 days. Check them out at ShadyRays.com.
My heart has experienced life-changing wins, losses, and countless miles. To keep living at my speed, I trust Cunol CoQ10. CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist-recommended supplement for heart health. Cunol, the brand I trust.
My mom had her identity stolen, and seeing just how stressful that was changed everything for me. Now, I use the Experian app to check my FICO score and even get real-time alerts. It helps me feel in control. Get started with the Experian app.
New is in season at Cabinets to Go. Now you can refresh, revamp, and re-energize for less. Discover fresh new styles, bold new colors, and brand new collections at up to 45% off. Or get a new kitchen for less with 0% APR for 48 months. The new collection sale is happening now through May 12th. Shop these deals and more online or in stores today. Only at Cabinets to Go. Designed to wow.
Well, this certainly will come as no surprise. Former President Joe Biden and the Trump administration are at odds once again. What now? Well, this time President Biden is expected to fight the release of 70 hours of audio tapes recorded of his conversations with his book Ghostwriter. The tapes were part of a former special counsel Robert Hur's investigation. Hur, as you will remember, investigated Biden's handling of classified documents after Biden's time as vice president. On Friday, the Department of Justice filed new court documents saying in part, quote, "The public deserves to hear the tapes and read the transcripts as redacted by President Donald J. Trump's Department of Justice. Plaintiffs regret that they are currently unable to assist the court in this process due to the repeated failure of counsel for President Biden to engage with plaintiffs on this matter," end quote. Now, the Department of Justice plans to disclose the transcripts and audio recordings to Congress and the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, who has sued, they're the plaintiffs, has sued for the information under the Freedom of Information Act. A spokesperson for President Biden told Politico, quote, "What is happening now is not about transparency, it's about politics. President Biden has until tomorrow to take legal action in order to block the release of transcripts and audios. President Biden has denied any wrongdoing." Meanwhile, on Sunday, President Trump took to Truth Social with very harsh words for Supreme Court Justices Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett. The president is upset about the High Court's February ruling against his tariffs. The president posted on Truth Social saying in part, quote, "I love Justice Neil Gorsuch. He's a really smart and good man, but he voted against me and our country on tariffs, a devastating move. How do I reconcile this? So bad and hurtful to our country. I have likewise always liked and respected Amy Coney Barrett, but the same thing with her. They are appointed by me and yet have hurt our country so badly. I do not believe they meant to do so, but their decision on tariffs cost the United States $159 billion that we have to pay back to enemies and people, companies, and countries that have been ripping us off for years. It's hardly believable. They could have solved that situation with a tiny sentence. Any money paid by others to the United States does not have to be paid back. Why wouldn't they have done so?" End quote. Now, Justices Gorsuch and Barrett joined the court's liberal justices in a 6-3 decision to strike down the president's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The majority found that the president does not have the power to impose tariffs under the act. The president also added in his Truth Social post that he believes that justices will also rule against his birthright citizenship case. That case is pending in the High Court. Professor Emeritus of Harvard Law School, Alan Dershowitz, joins me. Nice to talk to you, sir. And I want to talk about these tariffs. And the thing that struck a lot of the people who dug deep into this tariff question, in this case of the Supreme Court, was, I think it was Justice Kavanaugh who brought up that one of the things that was not argued by the government, by Trump's lawyers, was the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930. Would that have made a difference? What's that act, and would that have made a difference?
No, it wouldn't have made a difference. I think once the lawyers for President Trump decided to cite statutes, they were guaranteed to lose. Why? Because who interprets statutes? The Supreme Court interprets statutes. That's their job. He should have gotten up there, and his first sentence should have been, "May it please the court, the tariffs that President Trump threatened saved 30 million lives between Pakistan and India. The job of the president is to administer diplomacy and foreign policy, and tariffs are essential to that. Therefore, all of these statutes, from Smoot-Hawley to the current statutes, are unconstitutional limitations on Article 2 presidential power." That's the way the case should have been argued. I think he would have won those two justices if he had argued this on constitutional grounds instead of statutory grounds.
Usually, though, the justices, won't they dig a little deeper? Even if it's not argued before them, they'll reach a little, deeper for themselves and look at things like constitutional issues, or are they like robots and just look at what's before them?
No, they have the power to look at arguments that were not made, but they generally don't do it. Generally, you don't reach constitutional issues unless you first resolve statutory issues. But if the president had argued, look, Congress simply doesn't have the authority to impose limitations on the president's power to conduct foreign policy and military operations by using tariffs as one of his weapons. Tariffs are better than bombs. I think a good lawyer and a good legal prevailed and gotten those two justices to go along with the three other justices. I think once you say it's a statutory construction issue, then they get deep into the weeds. What did this statute mean? Does it give you 25 days? Does it give you 30 days? Does it say 25% or 20%? That empowers the Supreme Court to check and balance the president. When the president claims presidential authority under Article 2 for military and diplomacy, the court has no role to play. You can't second guess that.
Even with the statute of Smoot-Hawley, it's 1930s, a long time ago, but it's never been overruled. And that does give the president authority to impose these 50%, up to 50% tariffs. And of course, it's like, when you mention Smoot-Hawley to anybody, it's like kryptonite, because I think of President Hoover, who put us into the Depression, or who was president during the Depression.
Think was ever passed. But by the way, there are 7 or 8 other statutes that give the president authority to impose tariffs, to avoid discrimination against the United States by other countries, to impose tariffs when the national security requires. These all require taking steps, and the administration didn't take those steps. But the president still has enormous authority to use tariffs as a way of fighting wars, as a way of engaging in diplomacy. And I would hope that he would use that power without seeking loopholes within a statutory framework that makes no sense. You know, it starts with Smoot-Hawley, which helped cause the Depression. Then it moves to 1977, a whole bunch of other statutes which create a statutory framework. Once you give the court the power to interpret all those statutes, you're taking away the presidential power. And that took away too much under Article 2 from the president. So I think it was a both tactical and strategic and legal mistake.
Alan Dershowitz, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of movement over the weekend in Hungary. And when I say movement, I mean... That is Scholt Hegedüs. He's Hungary's next health minister. On Saturday, the new health minister danced in front of the country's parliament building after Peter Magyar, Hungary's new prime minister, took the oath of office. Hegedüs told The Guardian that he intended on avoiding a viral moment like the one he had started last month, where he celebrated his party's election victory with an impromptu dance. However, he told The Guardian in part, quote, "When the music started, I could see that the audience had been waiting for this so eagerly. I did not want to let the people down." End quote. After his performance, Hegedüs thanked his supporters for their applause. The stage then turned into a dance floor, and members of parliament joined in the celebration. Hungary's new prime minister ended Viktor Orban's 16-year rule. Coming up, terrible tragedy. A person struck by a commercial passenger plane. But how did the person get onto the runway? That one, the record continues.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, and it's available at your local pet store.
When it comes to my daily heart health supplement, I've got 3 rules. It's got to be plant-based, it's got to be doctor-recommended, and it's got to be Super Beets from Human.
Super Beets is the #1 cardiologist-recommended beet brand for heart health support, with clinically studied grapeseed extract for nearly 2 times more effective blood pressure support than diet and exercise alone.
Super Beets works. I swear by it, and I know you're going to love it too.
Try Super Beets today at human.com.
Think you need a new roof? Think again. Most roofing companies only make money one way, by selling you a new roof. But what if your roof isn't worn out, just dried out? And with just a little love, you could put off an expensive roof replacement for up to 15 years, at a fraction of the cost of a new roof. Roofmax is a scientifically engineered restoration formula that brings your shingle life back to new. Scan the code and get a free spring roof tune-up with your Roofmax restoration.
Another lost summer scrolling and swiping? Turns out the fix is right here. Create new lifetime memories from the comfort of your backyard. No passports, no reservations. Latham's premium handcrafted pools can be installed in weeks. Our pools won't stain or crack and never require costly resurfacing. And with our crystal finish, you can bring your favorite exotic watercolor and shimmer right to your own backyard. Visit LathamPool.com now. Latham is a proud sponsor of USA Artistic Swimming.
When I started Walton Goggins Goggle Glasses, I didn't know how to turn all this fancy prettiness into a classy-looking logo. But GoDaddy Aero does, with its magical AI powers. It not only creates it, it slaps that sweet thing everywhere.
Hi, I'm Troy Aikman. I've always loved football and music, and that's what led me to Venue, one of the fastest-growing publicly traded entertainment companies. Now they're offering Fire Suites, absolute triple net real estate delivering an 11% annual return paid monthly. Simple, predictable, passive income. Visit investvenue.com to learn more.
Healthy plants guaranteed to thrive, handpicked for you. That's what FastGrowingTrees.com delivers. And every tree comes with our Alive and Thrive guarantee. Get the plants you want and the results you'll love. Save now at FastGrowingTrees.com.
Every day, bumps and bangs happen. Bruises are optional. Use daily dermatologist-recommended Dermend and reduce the appearance of bruises. Get Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Cream in the first aid aisle.
A bomb-like blast. That is how one passenger described the moment a commercial plane, an Airbus 321, struck and killed a person during takeoff. Happened Friday night at Denver's International Airport. Horrifying video shows first the victim jumping the airport fence, then trying to cross the runway, and then getting struck and sucked into one of the engines. According to FlightAware, at the time of the collision, the plane was moving at 139 miles per hour. The victim has not yet been identified. Here's what the pilots told air traffic control.
Tower Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. We just hit somebody. We have an engine fire.
The plane was heading to Los Angeles. One passenger says it was hard to breathe inside the cabin from all the smoke from the engine fire. The airport said 12 people reported minor injuries, 5 were taken to local hospitals. Frontier Airlines says it is investigating the incident. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said in part, quote, "No one should ever trespass on an airport," end quote. No kidding, right? Meanwhile, a gruesome and tragic discovery. 6 bodies were found inside a train boxcar. The grim discovery was made yesterday in Laredo, Texas. Laredo is right near the Mexican border and about 150 miles southwest of San Antonio. A Union Pacific worker discovered the bodies in a train yard. Police have not determined how they died or where the 6 were from. Yesterday in Laredo, Texas, temperatures reached 97 degrees, and of course, these people were in a closed boxcar. Coming up, an uninvited guest breaks into a nursing home. We have that video. It's pretty chaotic. You're going to see it when the record continues.
Hey, I'm Carl Higbee from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
Kevin Sorbo here, and I have an important message to share. The government needs more money, your money. If you owe the IRS back taxes, they can garnish your wages and levy your bank accounts. They can even seize your retirement or take your home. Don't let the IRS target you. Call the professionals at Tax Network USA. Their tax lawyers and enrolled agents are experts in powerful programs that may even help you eliminate your tax debt.
Call for a free consultation or visit tnusa.com.
Home inspectors, contractors, roofers. All kinds of pros recommend Leaf Filter. Why? Topped by stainless steel micro mesh, Leaf Filter is engineered for protection. In testing, Leaf Filter handles double the water volume of common hood-style guards without overflow. Our product design is driven by relentless innovation, ensuring optimal performance even in the toughest storms. And we back it all with a lifetime clog-free guarantee.
Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com.
Attention! Do you owe money to the IRS? If you owe $10,000 or more, you must hear this message because new Trump-era tax policy changes are providing relief to the American taxpayer. IRS policy changes in 2025 and 2026 have created new ways to resolve debt. Tax Relief Helpers knows exactly how to navigate them and could help you save thousands. Just call 800-280-3571 to protect your assets, home, and retirement.
I owed $87,000 in taxes. Tax Relief Helpers got the amount I owed down to just $3,500. I saved $83,500.
I got behind on my taxes and I owed $48,000. I called, and after they told me about the changes at the IRS, they got my bill fully removed.
We save Americans millions of dollars in tax debt every year, and we can help you. Call right now to take advantage of the latest Trump-era tax deductions to protect your assets, home, and retirement from the IRS. The call and consults are absolutely free. Call 800-280-3571. That's 800-280-3571.
It's 2 a.m., your fever spiked and you're miserable. Here's your options.
Urgent care, closed. ER, slammed. And you'll spend hundreds of thousands in both. Telehealth, yeah, but the pharmacies are closed.
That's the reason why we keep emergency medical kits at home.
It has doctor-prescribed medication like generic Z-Pak, amoxicillin, other antibiotics and antivirals. You can treat flu, pneumonia, strep, sinus infections, UTIs, and more.
Because if you're sick in at night, traveling or stranded, you don't want options.
You want what is inside this kit. No waiting, no pharmacy, and no copays.
Just schedule a quick telehealth call.
And that's how you feel better faster and avoid serious complications.
Every family should have this kit, and here's how to order yours.
Order online in minutes and use the promo code to save $45. Your doctor-prescribed kit ships fast to your door, packed with medications to treat over 30 conditions. So when something hits, you're ready. And a wellness company telehealth doctor is always there if you need guidance.
What if you could have shades like these for a fraction of big brand prices? With Shavy Rays, you can. We're an independent company, so we do things differently. We offer high-quality polarized shades for a reasonable price. And we personally replace shades that get lost or broken. So far, we've racked up over 300,000 five-star reviews. I founded Shavy Rays so that we can have sunglasses that stand up to whatever life throws at us. Order now and get 20% off site-wide at ShavyRays.com.
Chaos inside a Michigan nursing home. This group of deer was seen running outside the nursing home, but then staff members were shocked to find one of the deer got inside the nursing home. Oh dear, right? They do not know how he got in, but I do think he was not visiting any of the patients. The security video shows the staff chasing the deer. He ran through the halls and made a mess, but it did not take long to get him out. After less than a minute, one of the staff members opened the door and guided him out. Thankfully, no one was injured. And don't forget, now pay attention to this, I have a new podcast called Greta Wire. You'll like it. It's different. You can subscribe now. It's free on your favorite podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at newsmax.com/listen. Thank you for watching. Ed Henry, The Big Take, is up next. Stay with Newsmax.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.